There's a board on 4chan called X. I'm pretty sure if you're here, you've heard of it, you know what it is. It's a message board that has a lot of great resources for a lot of stuff I talk about here. Esoteric knowledge, occult stuff. Occult means only what? Hidden. Of course, that's right. And it's got a lot of stuff about spirituality. There's always some kind of a Gnosticism thread going on. But it's an anonymous board, like all 4chan. So, you know, you can't see people who have posted before, multiple, which is great, which is a lot better than a place like Reddit. You have to go back. So I was there today, and I ran into a couple of interesting things. It's funny how sometimes, like, I'll catch like a post or something, whether it's there or on other kind of social media, where someone will be articulating something, a concept I have, and I go over a lot, almost verbatim. And I mean, I don't know these people. What it is it just shows that we're all having this kind of shared experience. And the thing I try to do is to get the terminology to line up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that everybody's kind of using the same terminology, so it's easier to understand things. This first one here that I'm going to put up is, I've kind of said almost exactly the same thing. And it's kind of interesting. I always usually say that they want to live like kings and queens off our, you know, our energy. We're like batteries, you know. And yeah, other people have that sort of same sense too. I thought that was kind of interesting. But it's this one, this other one I'm putting up now, or should be, which I thought was real interesting. They were talking about like how people, when they have, when they do DMT, which I've never done. You know, I was curious, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something I need to do. I feel like I kind of can do that stuff anyway. But yeah, this one guy in the post here, he experienced a situation where, and this isn't the guy, this is another guy relaying the story. But sometimes they talk about how you can tell when something's true and something's bullshit, because you can recognize the frequency, even if you don't recognize it. Your subconscious recognizes it. This story is true. And again, like, it's a guy relating a story that was posted on there previously. And unlike other places where you get an avatar and a name and a character, there's not a lot of incentive for making things up. You know, you don't get upvoted or any of that gay shit. It's just, you know, someone's laying out what happened. So the incentive to lie or to flex really isn't there. So what he's saying here is kind of what I've alluded to, but not in a serious way. I said before, like, when you leave this area, when you lose your body somehow, whether death or whatever, death of the body, you know, death of you. We just get all the rest of these guys can get by. I kind of jokingly would say it's almost like you pull the helmet off. Do you know what I mean? Like the VR helmet, and then you're in this kind of other place. Well, this guy found himself there, but I guess from reading this thing, he kind of freaked out, I guess, or didn't take the opportunity to get out. He could have gotten out. It's like he was beyond that dimension, or not in the dimension that you usually go to. or the multi-dimensions you go to, which are really just frequencies. It gets tricky when you talk about dimensional spaces as dimensions, like I mentioned before, are different in physics than they are in geometry. You know what I mean? So, and what we're talking about is dimensionally inhabiting a space. You're not going anywhere. Everything's here. You don't get zapped anywhere, even if it feels like you do. The stuff around you changes. That's how you move dimensionally, because dimensions are just a different angle. It's a different angle where you can see something else. I sometimes say that with when I take plant medication, which I really haven't in a long time. And I just don't have really the desire to anymore. It was kind of the last sort of drug that I would occasionally do. And I don't know, it just, I don't have the desire for it. The only reason I did it as long as I could is because people would always give it to me. Oh my God, I'm on COVID. This has been going on for like a month. It's not as bad as it was. I'm at the tail end of it. But, you know, it's still hanging in there. Yeah, it's not actually long COVID. I didn't take the thing. I have a soul, and I want to hang on to it. So that was never going to be something I was going to do. But yeah, hold on, let me move over here. The idea of finding yourself in a place. I don't think it's. He describes it here as beyond the dimension of the lights and everything, almost like a backstage kind of area. I've experienced something like that myself. I think it was 1997. I was had a lot of weird stuff going on back then, but I was working with a friend of mine who would indulge in a lot of different things. That was kind of his business, and ketamine was going around a lot at the time. When I first ran into it, or the people doing it, I never tried it, and so I did, you know, one night, and it was a really weird experience. How you doing, dear? Have a good night. And yeah, it was really it was like a hallucinogenic type experience. It doesn't last all that long, but it messed me the fuck up. Now, the first time I did it was really the only time this kind of thing happened. And the idea is you want to get into what they would refer to as a K-hole, which basically means you have to overdose. Yeah, you want to overdose on the drug. It would come in bottles, like little vials. The veterinarian would have them for animal operations and stuff. So you'd take it, you'd get the bottle back wherever you were, and you put it in the microwave. And it would create fluffy powder that looked like cocaine. Some people would I've seen some people make the mistake of thinking it was cocaine and taking it and being really unhappy. Luckily, it doesn't last long, like as I was saying. But so I'm in the room the first time I did it, and I'm upstairs in his apartment, in his sort of suite. It was like 3 floors. A lot of funny stuff happened in that house. This is in Allston, Mass. Right, like in Boston. So I did it like a big dose, right? And I sat in a chair, and as I was sitting in the chair, the room began to change. Now everything stayed where it was but the shape of it would change. Like the bed became like a fountain, then it became a couch, it became another piece of furniture. Like the items that were in there were still taking up the space you're taking up, but it was like I was seeing a different angle on them. Oh yeah, I forgot to tie that back to the plant medication. What I was going to say about that is sometimes when you take plant medication, you can see a different angle. Like you could be sitting at a table looking at a box and you see the sides. Taking the plant medication, all of a sudden you can see the top. It's the same item, but it gives you a different perspective on it. This is what was happening with the entire room. And the room was changing. The walls were changing. Furniture was changing. But when it would change, it would there would still be a thing in the place where something else already was. It was really weird. So I'm watching this happen, and I remember thinking, like, is this showing me the room through time? Like, is this how it used to look? And but no, because it was there were too many variations. I don't remember. Hold on, I'm gonna wait for these guys to go by. The loud boys. Okay, yeah, it was way too many variations for it to be like a time thing. It was just like I was seeing different versions of the possibilities. It was like Schrodinger's room. You know, like it was there, but it wasn't there, or they could both be there. And at one point in this, I start hearing voices. Like just behind me, kind of above me, like sort of around me. And right as this happened, I got the idea, or I was shown the idea. Like if you ever watch like a TV show like Saturday Night Live or something filmed on, they'll be doing a skit, and then when they go to commercial, they'll zoom out, and you can see the people with the cameras and stuff standing around. So you see that the scene where they were doing a skit is really just a soundstage. The camera pulls out, and then you see all the technical stuff and the grips and stuff. That's what happened in the room, and I got the idea that this is all kind of staged. This is all kind of like a show, and there's like another layer around it that where they have the stuff going on that runs this area. And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh wow, this is just like everything. The world here is just a stage. All the world's indeed a stage. So I hear these voices like, hey, and they weren't whispering, they were just low. Like I was hearing them low, but they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And they sounded a bit like alarmed. I don't think I don't remember talking to anyone there, but I got the impression that they were saying, oh shit, he could see where he is. How did he get back here? How does he, you know, why is he here? You know, they seemed like alarmed that I was seeing the set part of it, the stage part of it. And after that experience, I forget how it ended. There's usually, I mean, there wasn't like a climax to it. It just kind of stopped. That's how that stuff is. Like, you'll be doing this crazy kind of trip under the influence of it, and then like in the snap of a finger, it's like boom, you're like right back to completely clear thinking and, you know, like completely sober. It's really weird that way. So I came back to regular stuff, regular room, and for a little while I could still hear the talking. And I kind of, and as time went on, I kind of got this idea in my head that they could still, I mean, months, weeks, years later, that occasionally I would hear them around me. Now, of course, that's a symptom of schizophrenia. And it's weird how closely tied mental health is to all these kind of spiritual problems. That's why I always say, like, mental health is really spiritual health. For everything you may experience that is like a spiritual thing, they have like a mental health medical reason for it, and they call it something else. because they're very much gatekeeping you. They don't know it, you know. The clinicians are, you know, why, whatever they're into it for. I mean, sure, most of them get into it to help people. Sure, they all want to help people. They don't know what they're doing. Same thing with like teachers. It's like a noble kind of thing to get into. They don't know exactly what they're doing in the macro, and because of that, that's why I end with don't blame the teacher, blame the school. But yeah, I experienced that, and for a while it was like I was being followed, not physically followed, but hold on, let me just get across here. I talk about weird shit, and when I'm out here, I'm always trying to stay away from people, but they always try to get around me. Oh, well, they don't try to. I just end up, you know, in the same space. But yeah. So I thought they were following me around. I stopped hearing it after a while, but being in that soundstage, or what appeared to be a soundstage, when I read this thing about him appearing in a place that looked real, although I didn't see anything outside of like this setup around the world or the room, it zoomed out and I just got like a kind of picture of it where I could still see the room and then see all like the scaffolding and shit. So I didn't go into like a facility like this guy's explaining, but I got that vibe from it. Like it may have been the same dimensional space that this guy was in. And it's interesting because as the first post I showed is very much a farm. You know, that's why I always mention the farmers, and Klaus is always around because that's what they're doing, really. I mean, they're on one level, it's a resource farm for the physical stuff here, you know, where they put people on the hamster wheel to mine the gold, you know, so they can survive. But in the metaphysical realm, which is much more important and really is the thing, because everything you do here powers that. The actions you take here then have a more powerful representation in the ether, in the spiritual realm. So when you give someone money, if you work for that money, just not to go off on a tangent here, but money's worthless as paper. They print it out of nothing. If you gain that money through work, then it receives a charge where you then make that money valuable to them because it has your charge to it. That's why like a lot of banks would rather have property than money if you're like going bankrupt, because the money hasn't gotten into the person's hands yet. You know, if they want to take the money back, it would just be numbers on their computer going back to them. The house or the property is something they worked for, and something they put their energy into, and therefore it was charged. So it's more valuable to them to have that stuff. And because a lot of times you'd be like, well, why would they want this house? Why would they want this old Chevy? Like, why wouldn't they just take the cash? Well, that's why. I mean, in my opinion, you know. So yeah, I'm fucking having trouble concentrating. I don't know what the fuck it is. Too much Red Bull. Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to throw these things up here and talk about them. I saw them one right after the other, and after I was done reading the first one and go, wow, this is sort of my theory here, I came upon the next one. But the idea that there is a place where we're kind of hooked up to for a more direct loose suck, I thought was really interesting. And I've often said that sort of in a facetious kind of way. Like, yeah, when you don't die, your body dies, and all you do is you pull the headset off. But I really wasn't considering that is could be a literal thing. But reading this, that second one about the headset, I could tell he had that experience. I don't know if that's what he perceived it to be, but that experience is true. I don't know how you know this kind of stuff, but you get this feeling, and it has to do with frequency. Your subconscious can recognize the frequency that truth is on. Lies have their own frequency. Truth has their own frequency. And that's how sometimes, even though you don't know the micro mechanics of it, you can kind of think, oh, this guy's, full of shit, or he's lying to me, or this guy, I really believe this guy. You get those intuitive things. And that has to do with frequency. So yeah, I thought those two were interesting. If you're ever looking for some interesting reading, that's a good place to go. I'll put a link to it in the comments. But like I said, anyone here, I'm sure most of you guys have already been there. Maybe before me, probably. How you doing? But yeah, hey, what's up, Dan? I'm gonna head in. This is out of work town. I think a lot of people are gonna be coming around, so I'll be back out later to do some demon spotting. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.